Yazidism. Founded in 12th century Iraq, Yazidis worship Melik Tauz, the peacock angel, who refused to bow to Adam when God commanded it. Every other tradition says this refusal makes him Satan. Yazidis say it makes him the most loyal angel because he wouldn't bow to anyone except God. This got them labeled devil worshippers for centuries and targeted for genocide. They don't have a holy book, they pass down traditions orally, and they don't accept converts. You're born Yazidi or you're not. They believe in reincarnation, which is rare for a Middle Eastern religion. There are only about 1 million Yazidis left globally, concentrated in northern Iraq. ISIS nearly wiped them out in 2014, killing thousands and enslaving Yazidi women specifically because of their religion. Sethian Gnosticism. This was one of the earliest forms of Gnosticism, emerging around the same time as mainstream Christianity in the 1st and 2nd centuries. Sethians believed the God of the Old Testament was actually an evil or ignorant creator called the Demiurge, and the real God existed far above him. Jesus came to teach secret knowledge, gnosis, that would free your soul from the material prison this false god created. They practiced baptism rituals called the 5 Seals, where initiates claimed to see visions of luminous beings and receive direct spiritual knowledge. They traced their lineage back to Seth, Adam's 3rd son, who they believed was the first person to receive gnosis. The religion died out by the 4th century, crushed by the version of Christianity that became Orthodox, but their texts survived buried in jars in Egypt. Mandaeism. Mandaeans are the only Gnostic religion that survived to the present day. They're based in Iraq and Iran with maybe 60,000 to 100,000 followers left. They consider John the Baptist their greatest prophet, not Jesus, and they practice full-body baptism in rivers every single Sunday, not once in a lifetime, but weekly. They believe the material world is corrupt and controlled by dark planetary spirits, and baptism washes away the influence of these spirits temporarily. They have their own alphabet, their own calendar, and strict rules. You can't convert to Mandaeism, marriages outside the faith aren't valid, and priests must be married with children. They faced severe persecution under Saddam Hussein and ISIS. Many fled to diaspora communities in places like Australia and Sweden. Cargo cults. During World War II, the U.S. military built bases on remote Pacific islands that had barely contacted the outside world. Islanders watched planes land carrying vast amounts of cargo, food, medicine, weapons, technology, like nothing they'd ever seen. After the war, the Americans left, and the cargo stopped coming. So islanders built replica airstrips out of bamboo, carved wooden headphones for air traffic controllers, and performed rituals trying to make the planes return. They believed the cargo was meant for them, but white people had stolen it through magic rituals. Some cults worshipped John Frum, a possibly fictional American serviceman who they believed would return with cargo. These religions still exist on islands like Tanna in Vanuatu, where John Frum Day is celebrated every February 15th with ceremonial American flag raising and military-style marching. Cult of Mithras. Mithraism spread through the Roman Empire from the 1st to 4th centuries CE, especially among soldiers and merchants. They worshipped Mithras, a god who slayed a cosmic bull in a cave, and from the bull's death came all life, grain from its blood, animals from its seed. Initiates met in underground temples called Mithraea, designed to look like caves, usually fitting only 30 to 40 people. The religion had 7 levels of initiation, each with secret rituals and passwords. Women were completely excluded. It was men only. Almost everything we know comes from archaeology because they kept everything secret and wrote almost nothing down. When Christianity became Rome's official religion, Mithraism was systematically destroyed. Many Mithraea were buried or converted into Christian churches. The religion went extinct by 400 CE, leaving behind hundreds of carved scenes of the bull slaying, but almost no explanation of what it actually meant. Manichaeism. Founded by the prophet Mani in the 3rd century Persia, Manichaeism taught that reality is a war between light and darkness, spirit and matter. The material world is a prison where particles of divine light are trapped in evil matter, and the whole point of existence is extracting that light back to the spiritual realm. It spread faster than almost any religion in history, from Spain to China within a few centuries. Manichaeans were strict. Elect members couldn't have sex, own property, or eat meat, because all of that trapped more light in matter. Regular followers supported the elect and hoped to reincarnate as elect in the next life. It was considered heretical by Christians, Zoroastrians, and Muslims simultaneously. Mani himself was executed by being flayed alive. The religion survived longest in Central Asia and China, finally dying out around the 14th century, hunted to extinction on all sides. The Druze Faith. The Druze religion started in the 11th century Egypt as an offshoot of Ismaili Islam, but it's so different now that calling it Islamic is debatable. They believe in reincarnation. When a Druze dies, their soul immediately enters a newborn Druze baby somewhere in the world, keeping the total population of Druze souls constant. You cannot convert into or out of the Druze faith. Their religious texts are secret and only accessible to initiates called Ukal, the knowledgeable, while most Druze are Juhal, the ignorant, who don't get to read their own scripture. They live primarily in Syria, Lebanon, Israel, and Jordan, numbering around 1 million total. They believe in taqiyya, meaning they can outwardly practice the dominant religion of wherever they live to protect themselves. Most of their theology is unknown to outsiders because they genuinely keep it secret, even from most of their own members. Bogomilism. Bogomilism emerged in the 10th century Bulgaria and spread through the Balkans and into France and Italy. They believed the material world was created by Satan, God's rebellious son, and everything physical is inherently evil. Marriage, reproduction, eating meat, drinking wine, all evil because they perpetuate the physical world. Churches, crosses, icons, worthless because they're material objects. The only good thing is the human soul, which is a fragment of God trapped in Satan's creation. They rejected the Old Testament entirely and only accepted a modified version of the New Testament. The Byzantine Empire and Catholic Church considered them dangerous heretics and hunted them for centuries. The Cathars in France were closely related or possibly the same movement under a different name. The Crusades killed most of them, and when the Ottomans conquered the Balkans, many Bogomils converted to Islam. The religion was extinct by the 15th century. Paulicianism. Paulicianism started in the 7th century Armenia, teaching that the Old Testament God was evil and the New Testament God was good, two completely different deities. The evil God created the material world as a prison. The good God sent Jesus to free souls from it. They rejected church hierarchy, icons, the cross, because it was a torture device, why worship it, baptism of infants, and most sacraments. The Byzantine Empire massacred them repeatedly, killing tens of thousands and forcibly relocating survivors. Some Paulicians fought back, forming their own principalities and raiding Byzantine territory. Others fled to the Balkans, where they influenced or merged with the Bogomils. The Byzantines eventually crushed them militarily in the 9th century. Small communities survived in Armenia until the Ottoman period, but the religion is essentially extinct now, leaving behind mostly Byzantine documents condemning them as heretics. Mazdakism. Mazdak was a Zoroastrian priest in 5th century Persia who preached radical equality. All wealth, property, and even women should be shared communally. He taught that inequality itself was the root of all evil and caused cosmic imbalance between light and darkness. King Kavad I supported him, possibly to weaken the nobility and Zoroastrian priesthood who opposed the king. This led to massive social upheaval, property redistribution, communal living, noblemen losing their wealth and wives. It lasted about 30 years until Kavad's son Khosrow took power and ended it brutally. He invited Mazdak and thousands of followers to a garden, had them all buried upside down in the ground, then walked through the garden of corpses. Nearly everyone associated with the movement was killed. Mazdakism was wiped out so thoroughly that almost everything we know comes from later Zoroastrian and Islamic sources that hated it. Sabians of Harran. The Sabians were the last surviving practitioners of ancient Mesopotamian star worship, based in Harran, southern Turkey today. When Islam spread, they faced a problem: convert, die, or prove they were people of the book, like Christians and Jews. They claimed their religion was founded by Hermes Trismegistus and that they had ancient prophets, which was dubious, but just enough to avoid forced conversion. They worshipped planetary deities, the Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, and believed celestial bodies were conscious divine beings. They practiced complex astrology, built temples aligned to planetary movements, and created talismanic statues at astrologically significant moments. They influenced Islamic philosophy and astronomy significantly. Islamic authorities were suspicious, but tolerated them for centuries. The religion finally died out around the 11th century, possibly absorbed into Islam or destroyed when Mongols sacked the region. Zunism. Before Buddhism arrived in Tibet in the 7th century, Zunism was one of the major organized religions there, focused on sun worship and shamanistic practices. Very little is known because Buddhism systematically replaced it, and most Zunist texts were destroyed or absorbed into Buddhist practice. What survived suggests they worshipped a solar deity, practiced animal sacrifice, believed in divination and prophecy, and had a priesthood that performed rituals for protection and prosperity. Some practices and deities were incorporated into Tibetan Buddhism as protector deities or local spirits. By the 9th century, Zunism as a distinct religion had essentially vanished. Most of what we think we know comes from Buddhist polemical texts written to discredit it, so the historical accuracy is questionable. It's one of the most obscure extinct religions, barely leaving a trace.